to the Serious TV Drama Podcast. I'm Scott, and joining me once again, the clever shapeshifter to my clueless thought drifter, it's Jamie. Hey, Jamie.
Hey, Scott. Good to be here. I got my flu shot. I cut my chip out. I'm good to go.
Nice. Yes, we are back. We are back to cover the latest episodes of our two favorite Thursday releasing streamers, which that kind of sounds more like an old man's urinary issues than a TV series. Talking about Evil and, of course, The Boys, and that's where we typically start. So let's kick it off with The Boys. This would be the penultimate episode of the season, I believe, titled The Insider. Now, I gotta say, I didn't think I'd be seeing puppets again in the Boys universe, because we certainly had fun with puppets on Gen V, but here they were again. Not again, but actually, no, wait. I believe some of these puppets made an appearance in Gen V, because I think they had puppet versions of some of the seven, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure about that. Yeah, the Deep was one of the puppets, if I remember. But
yes, he was.
But
here they're celebrating an Antifa Christmas.
Well, yes, it's funny. I know. I think somewhere. I think I saw a blurb, because I didn't want to read any articles or anything. That's my way. Someone was referring to this. Maybe it was a tweet. And it's like, wow, The Boys actually had a Christmas episode. I was like, well, no, this wasn't really a Christmas episode. I mean, although apparently they are filming a live Christmas special during it, so I guess it is around Christmas time. But, I would say the ice show was maybe more Christmassy. But yes, it's a Christmas special that Ryan is supposed to be participating in. And the song, the Say Something, See Something, Say Something, and how it preys on all the...
It's a catchy ass tune.
It is. Well, all the songs they come up with on the show are very catchy. You got to give them credit for that. The last time around with was it put the Christ back in Christmas or whatever it was? It was really nice to listen to at the end of the episode, because then you got all the lyrics, and they did the same with this, see something, say something kind of thing, in which brought up and the conversation where they actually do bring up Antifa. It's amazing. But of course, it's putting all that aside. It's about watching Ryan's reaction to it, and he kind of calls things to a halt. He basically walks off the set. And this is all happening because, his dad, Homelander, approved the script. Although I'm having a hard time believing Homelander wasted his time to read a script like this. I'm thinking he probably rubber stamped it.
Yeah, likely not.
But because it's Homelander, it's something no one wants to disagree with, because you know what happens when you disagree with someone like Homelander. But it is nice when later on we get some other nice little Ryan moments. I like him getting that gift, and the return address is from Don't Be a Cunt. And I had to wonder, okay, this is in, where he and Homelander are, I guess, living now at the Vought building, whatever. And you have the giant Christmas tree with all the cascading with presents all around. How does that present make it to be under that tree? How does that get through, any form of security? That I found.
Yeah, I am sure that they've got, somebody with X-ray vision checking mail.
Yeah. Plus, just look at it. I mean, hello. It's the return address is Don't Be a Cunt. I'm pretty sure everybody there probably knows who this is from. Oh, and of course, it's a framed picture of Becca and Butcher in Happier Days. And look, there's a dog. So
you brought up a good point, though, between the script and the present. It's like, again, it's one of the, the oversights, undersights that Homelander has, is if you get to a certain point of superiority, you stop thinking about all of these little things. These things that can creep in and get you because you think that you're immortal, you're infallible. Like, those things just don't come into your mind. You got people to do that.
Right.
And if your people don't love you and they're just afraid of you,
And if you have schmucks on staff, then things like, whether they're unable
Yeah.
to kill the right people or complete certain types of missions or keep their brains from being blown out or whatever, or in this case, being able to vet a package, which clearly was
It's made
from,
out of it's like a garbage sack.
yeah. I mean, why would you put that there? Just didn't make any sense. So actually, we'll just finish up all the Ryan stuff because then we have towards the end of the episode, we have the scene where that's the first time we realized, oh, it's a live special. Okay, that's interesting. I know they did that just so they could have the moment where he would be, talking to the camera.
Right.
Because, in all honesty, it doesn't make sense to be doing a live Christmas special with puppets and whatever. Um, so they're going through the number later, and one of my favorite parts is when Ryan gets up to talk. Stops the song, and there's that moment early on when everyone's like, when he like, go to commercial. It's like, don't go to commercial. Give me the. And then when you see the guys who are the actual puppeteers, kind of like, oh, let's get the fuck out of here, and they're like
Puppets melt.
slinking away in the background. That really made me laugh. It's like, oh no, let's get out of here. This is gonna go wrong. And I think that's when he's talking about his mom and how she loved Christmas. She loved what is it? He said s'mores with Reese's and something else she said that was kind of funny. And she also loved Butcher. And it's great because we toggle between him speaking to the camera and we see Butcher in a bar who at that point is sitting next to his the devil in his brain, shoulder, etc. Kessler, and we also see Homelander watch him. And it's when the kid's going through everything. Let me see. I think I wrote a little bit over here. Oh yeah, she always taught me to always tell the truth. Oh, and also she was a Terms of Endearment fan. That was nice. I was like, yeah, Jack Nicholson. Uh, um, but it's watching, and I love this episode. I really got a kick out of Anthony Starr's facial reactions, as I often do, probably more so than any other character or actor on the show, because there's all the moments of the restraint, the suppressed rage, the you're trying not to call you an idiot, even though he probably should just do it anyway. But when you're watching him reacting to what his actual son is saying here, and he gets to the part when he says, taught me to always tell the truth, which is why, and you think he's like, oh, wait a minute. Is he going to say, that's when I realized, wait a minute. Ryan's been witness. He was in the
Yep.
room during some of these things that we've seen when Homelander's gotten people together. He's been right there.
Yep.
And that's when you see Homelander like, oh, this is going to blow everything up, which I kept thinking, I bet there's a part of Homelander that almost wants him to do this because, like, okay, now I'm just going to do what I want, which is basically I'll just kill a bunch of people and just I'll be king and let's stop all the other. And of course, the dormant kitties are now starting to run around behind me. Great, every podcast now.
The cats love a Christmas special too.
Yes, they're not going to last till Christmas if they keep this up. But Ryan, I think he just says, yeah, I'm sorry. And he kind of walks off the set. But it's cool because it also, it gives Butcher that one moment to kind of say
Yes.
it to Kessler, who's been pretty much down on him the entire episode. He's getting annoyed with him telling the truth to the rest of the squad and all these decisions he's making, which he feels are, you're still being a pussy here. Why, blah, blah, blah about whether it be about genocide or this, that, or the other thing. But he feels this proves why he wants to make sure Ryan is safe because he still has hope. He still has faith in this kid. And
Right.
he's showing right now, he's demonstrating, he's rewarding his faith.
Yeah, I do like that. Whenever Kessler and him get into a little bit of an argument, it usually boils down to Kessler saying that, there's no such thing as a good soup. They need to all go. I don't care if they're your friends. I don't care if they're family. We need to get rid of all of them. And the restraint that Butcher has to constantly show against Kessler and explaining like, no, there's people that are worth saving, whether they're Supes or not. And then Ryan coming forward and saying these things like he's standing against that, and him being able to say, see, this is why. Because the thing is Ryan is, he's a kid. He's just going to do annoying kid things. But he has the ability to, you know, kill and maim and hurt. I mean, he has all the same abilities that Homelander has that we know of.
Right.
You know,
We either he's discovered them all or not. As of yet, we don't know because
right. We're fairly aware that he's very powerful.
Right. What they're doing, they've been doing the thing with him, which is kind of a trope from, sometimes some versions of Superman was he discovers different powers that he has as he gets older. It's almost, it's almost akin to puberty where, now
he's going to grow into him.
Right. And that, like they're doing that initially with Ryan about, trying to teach him to fly and these kind of things. Does he have the vision powers yet? Can he do this yet? Blah, blah, blah. There might be things they can do that we're not aware of. Who the hell knows at this point? I was a little surprised they didn't have Becca show up in this scene as well to be on the other side. Maybe they didn't want to have a similar kind of dynamic that would happen in the previous episode, perhaps. But that would have been a spot to have her. I mean, I'm not saying she should like magically appear, but all of a sudden you turn and you see she's on the other side, kind of a thing, or something like that. I'm not saying it needed to be there. I was just a little surprised it didn't happen. Yeah.
Yeah, it did feel like something you would turn and then you would see like mom, admiring and being proud of her son on the television screen.
Right. Because what Butcher has been doing, it's all because he's trying to keep his word to her,
But you know what? They didn't need her because that version of her is actually him.
Right.
And he's doing it.
He's invoking her anyway, whether the actress is present or not.
Right.
Of course, as Butcher's luck would have it, this all happens and then he collapses and he doesn't look good. So,
that damn Murphy and all those laws, right?
Yeah. So let's flip back earlier in the episode. So one of the fun things or interesting things going on throughout this episode is the inner workings and the plotting between Homelander and Sage and Firecracker and so on and so forth. So we have earlier on, let me just get this out of my way. All right. A meeting's already underway, but it's just between Homelander, Firecracker, who now is, got the chair pretty much next to him, so to speak, and Ashley, who is sort of. It seems like she's sort of trying to resuscitate her career there, and a lot of that comes from, Homelander has pretty much lost his faith, so to speak, in Sage because of what an embarrassing mess she was before. I do like him saying something like, "You have brains, but I have wisdom," and part of me wants to go, wisdom? Yeah. Oh, okay, all right, sure, we'll go along with that. But at this point, he's pretty much insisting that he and Firecracker are going to find the leak, and they mention the shooter because we know the idea, the whole plan was. They assassinate Bob Singer after, post-election, whatever, which means that Vicky rises to take over. Oh, and by the way, if they're in December, I guess the election has already happened and they're like, he's the president-elect and she's the vice president-elect, I guess, at this point, because the election would have been in November. And unless they're doing,
that makes sense.
I've never heard of a live Christmas special happening before Election Day. So, and since they talk about the shooter is going to happen on the 6th. And by the way, guys, look, I don't mind the fact that you guys have been a little bit more on the nose this season than ever before because, both me and Jamie, we're not dummies. We knew what the show was about from the get-go, but really going right for it. Yeah, well, let's make the assassination happen on January 6th. Why not? That date doesn't mean anything.
No, not at all. Not at all.
And that's also when we discover that A Train is eavesdropping. This is an interesting episode for A Train because it's almost like the roles reverse a bit between him and, MM. As he's got this information, he actually goes, without, anyone telling him to, if I'm not mistaken, he goes and actually snaps some pictures of Sage with the presumable shooter or whatever, and gets that information to MM. But MM looks like he's gonna bail out on all this, because as we find out, MM's worried about himself, but he's worried about because of the panic attack, which can lead to a heart attack.
Yeah.
But he's worried about his family, so he's got some money put together, and he wants them to go to Belize. So obviously they don't watch, Breaking Bad because it's like, wait, he wants them to die? Because that's what Saul Goodman calls, like, oh, maybe we should give him a trip to
To
Belize.
Belize. I do like that, when he's talking about like, why he's doing this job and why he wants to leave this job. And then, he says it killed my dad and it kills my dad's dad. And, how long they have been working towards changing things. And just what a desperate feeling that must be to always, have these opportunities. And then just what an almost impossible task they're up against.
Right, right. It was interesting when he talked about his father and then his father's father. And I was like, wait, are we talking about them fighting against like different things over time? Because I don't know are they talking about the soup revolution, so to speak? Because in this universe, it does seem to go back pretty far because,
Yeah.
isn't Soldier Boy supposed to be akin to like Captain America?
Right.
So therefore they were around back, many decades earlier, as we saw in those flashbacks as well.
And kind of what we saw with Noir and so on.
Right.
I definitely think so. It just shows it's just generations trying to go up against this and still not succeeding because, I mean, it's superpowers. It's
right.
And I mean, in real life, there's huge injustices that generations are always trying to take down, but it always feels like that injustice is surrounded by some kind of superpower. Like just when you think you have a way to be able to change the future, if something else comes in and makes it so you can't do it. And in a world full of superhuman strength and X-ray vision, like we were talking before, and being able to just blow your foe's head up whenever, like, how do you do that? How do you fight against that and keep your sanity? You can't. That's the point. That's what he's trying to express.
Well, the thing is, the other thing with MM, especially when he talks about the family lineage and what he's been doing, and and maybe he's done all he can. And this is from a character who, for example, if I'm not mistaken, at different points during the season, he's worn things like a Black Lives Matter T-shirt during at least one episode, and things like that.
Yeah, a few good band shirts too.
Right. Because I think what they're doing is they're making his family's legacy of fighting against the whole soup situation and the Vought organization, that is kind of akin to them being civil rights activists and fighting for civil rights, except this was the fight that they chose. So I thought that was kind of like, oh, that's kind of, I hadn't thought of him in that way before, but now I'm kind of seeing it and it kind of makes sense. Also, to go back to the whole concept of that Homelander and Firecracker no, they're going to be in charge of trying to track down a leak. That's because they've discovered the bugs that were placed at Tech Knight's mansion, which means, there was a lot of stuff said at that mansion, which might be a problem if it gets out.
A few things, maybe a few things.
A few things. And he don't even know what happened down in the basement. Huey's hoping
there wasn't even a bug there.
Yeah, Huey's he was hoping there ain't a bug of that. Anyways,
I just have a note on here because it made me laugh, but I liked when Sage referred to Firecracker as Daisy Duck Dynasty.
Right. Very nice. So I had mentioned before that when we were talking about Butcher, that he essentially, despite Kessler being, and we see Kessler is going to be kind of tagging around with him all the time now. And I think actually, it happens in this episode, as his physical condition worsens, Kessler is more present. Like, and except for the one moment where he actually calls out for him, of course. But when Butcher, again, this is a running thing with Butcher this season, where he shows up with the squad and he comes clean about something, and and this was telling them how they had kidnapped Samir, and then they
Oh,
realize,
Samir.
and that's when I think it's Huey who makes the connection, like, wait, did you cut off his leg? It's like, hey, foreshadowing. That's not going to be the first leg cut off on this series. Um, but they talk about the whole situation with the virus, but how to do, and how he doesn't want it to be a genocidal thing. That but he got just the right guy to help Samir work on that. The only other person he knows who knows chemicals and as well as anybody else, that would be Frenchie. Apparently, he got Grace Mallory, that is, to get Frenchie out of prison to help Samir work on the whole virus situation. Even though Frenchie is still drenched in self-hate and guilt and didn't really want to help. I'll say in this episode, though, I will say this. I've been kind of down on most of the Frenchie / Kamiko stuff for the most part this season. Even when not that it was bad, it was just like, who cares? Let's just get on to something else. I don't think I felt that way in this episode. And maybe it's because the two of them finally connected and talked about the respective situations. And we even got a little flashback of the real backstory of Kamiko and what weighs her down when he thinks she couldn't possibly relate to the fact that he killed a family. It's like, hey, guess what? I killed girl after girl after girl after girl.
Yeah.
Apparently,
I really liked getting a better explanation of why she doesn't speak.
yes,
Because I always thought that she doesn't seem like somebody who's I mean, it's not to say that she doesn't obviously carry trauma, but she doesn't seem like she's traumatized. This explains it so much better. Like
right,
it's a penance. Like it's a guilt that she carries. Like she can't talk anymore because she could never talk again after what she was doing. And she was a badass at like 6. I don't know what to say. She's been fighting since she was a little girl, and to see that past and how vicious and violent, bloody it is, and then it pans to her now, and here she is. She when you see her fight, you remember that she's a badass. But any other time, she's just so soft and calm and loving and cute and funny, and that there's just this ability to just turn, just on a flip, turn into this killer. That is what makes her character interesting.
yeah. She goes from a sweet little kitty cat to she goes totally feral, and or into an actual tiger, quite
Yeah,
frankly.
and it's great because it's not like she goes into rage. It's not like it's uncontrolled or chaotic or angry. It's just skill. It's just she's just busting out a skill. It is interesting. So I'm glad that we got that. It feels a little more fluid. I feel like her character's filled a little more.
Yeah, and it helps the episode overall because while in previous episodes, sometimes the dwelling on the Frenchie or Kamiko stuff, I thought dragged down some scenes and wanting to get back to, I didn't feel that way in this episode. And I thought I thought this episode worked really well. I thought this is one of the better episodes of the season, in terms of just overall balance of
Oh,
storylines and
yeah.
characters. And I thought, a lot of the more supporting players, got a lot of good screen time that worked both on a story and character level. Like we mentioned A Train before, not just A Train scene with MM kind of convincing him, and talking about what happened, like when he dropped him off at the hospital, for example, and when the kid looked at him and he said something. We were talking about this last week. It's like it's the first time he felt good about himself. That he actually felt like because he actually and at that point, he actually looked like he had actually saved somebody. It wasn't for
Yeah.
wasn't for cameras. It wasn't a staged event, whatever. And and like we said, he got when that kid was smiling at him, it reminded him of the potential of what he could actually be. You know, then when he has like a scene with Ashley and she's kind of having her meltdown because she's feeling responsible for the death of her former, spank buddy or whatever.
The best assistant she ever had.
But it's interesting because we have this. He has a scene earlier in the episode where he's like, "Okay, you need to button this shit up. You need to get she's drinking at 11 a.m. He's like, "Well, I'm still the CEO. I can drink whatever the fuck I want." Blah blah blah. Like, no, because you keep this up, and you got the world's smartest person here. They're gonna figure something out. Little does he know, it's like, you know what? As we pretty much suspected, I think she's known all along because she's given you she's dropped enough hints and given you enough looks in at least 3 episodes that made me go, I think she knows. I think
I know.
she's the one with who's 14 steps ahead of everybody else. Like she's Lex Luthor here. This is all part of the plan, as she does say later on in the episode.
Yeah.
But there is that nice moment because I think early on, Ashley is the one who even suggests that the two of them just get the hell out of town.
Yep.
I think she says go to Florence. Although they have to be silly and have to think it's like, I don't mean sex. Although I kept going, I'm pretty sure he don't want to bang you either, Ashley. Don't know. He's
It's a
gotten
two-way
he
street.
kind of. I think he knows a little bit about urine too, also.
Also, I mean, she was wearing a shirt that made her be dressed like Andre the Giant. So, I mean,
Right.
unless you're into that thing.
But then the situation kind of reverses itself later on in the episode after he's exposed himself and he sees her again and like it's like, oh no, we can. But she's kind of resolved to staying.
It was really kind of heartbreaking. I mean, it's not like Ashley's a good person. We're not really supposed to like love Ashley.
No.
We're not supposed to really care about her. She's pretty awful too. But the one thing that I can really appreciate about it is that even in this episode, she points it out, like, this job turns you into a horrible person. She's already aware of how many lines she's crossed that old her would not have been proud of. And I really did feel for her because you'd see her want to leave. She wanted to leave. There was a part of her that's like, just go. But no, she can't. She's going to stay.
Well, the great line that she has, which I think is maybe what you're referring to, it's the earlier scene. It's a great line because it's indicative of those who aren't necessarily warped by being, compound V babies or whatever they are. Just regular old humans can be warped. And she says it's so easy to become a monster around here.
Yes.
And that's what she's become. Because at one point she was just, the peon publicist, whatever, but not much more than that. But as she moved up the ranks and she started taking a hand in these decisions, and she just, before you could say she was career driven with the way she was about people. But I think she's become desensitized and callous to people. And we've seen it, throughout the seasons, the way she reacts and speaks, and when she has that one little tiny moment of humanity, it seems to then be immediately go away. And it's more because she's worried about her life because, Homelander might just kill her or something like that. This, at least with these scenes, we're seeing there is still humanity there. She's not completely a monster. She has her moments. Like when later on, when she does say she was the one to remind him to cut out his chip, which is what they used to track, all the soups and stuff, kind of as their, what's the word I'm looking for? Contingency plan for, I don't think it's a blow up chip like Suicide Squad. Or maybe
but if someone goes rogue, they can get him.
They can track him down. Although whenever I can't help but think every time when all these things are happening in the same building, I keep going, I'd be really worried. You keep having these conversations and there's this dude who, even though you all have like, if you dip into either you've read the comic books or you just go into the boys wiki and you read about characters, pretty much every single soup, one of the things they are supposed to have is like, enhanced or even super hearing.
Right.
And we know Homelander does. So I keep thinking, you know, didn't you like run to Toronto in one episode to make a phone call so no one would overhear you? And meanwhile, you're having conversations about being the leak in the same building. Okay. Fine, fine, fine. It's fine. Back to what I wanted to say a little thing about. Oh, I feel like something. But something just blew up in my house. Probably the cats did it. So when Butcher was talking to them, and I think it's during the scene where MM puts Butcher in charge, and then I heard a little bit of applause in my head. People applauding for Scott because I said something like this last episode because he's concerned about him with the panic attacks and what happened, and it happened during a mission. He's the one to lead, and he pretty much shuts them all up, and they're going to go with it. Although we'll talk about that later on in the episode because something else happens, which I'm kind of curious what your opinion is of it, but we're not there yet. But I was like, oh, okay. And that's where, but they do decide how the duties are going to be split up between them. And now we know, okay. So now for at least a chunk of this episode, we're going to be following these three going this direction and these folks going this way. And meanwhile, you have, wait, what's MM going to be doing? And then that's when he's trying to get his own family to, as we said, go to Belize. And it seems like he's going to go with them. And then he ultimately makes the decision that he's going to stay. He's going to fight, as they say, So before we get to the big fight, this is where I get to my little strut walk because we got some scenes with the Deep, the Deep and his squid lover Ambrosius. Now we see them earlier on in the episode, and it's right after they've apparently had some interminglings and such, and apparently he has a tongue like a motorboard, whatever. So I was like going, am I going to be doing research? Am I going to be Googling like squid clitorises on? You know what? I'm not going to do that. I'm just not going to do that.
it's you get used to it and then you stop for a minute. You go, oh no, none of us should be used to this.
But eventually there's a scene between the Deep and Ambrosius where the squid knows that he's two-timing her. Two-timing her, one of those regular Lynn people, Sage. And he gets, but and someone brought this up on Facebook. Someone who may or may not actually listen to this podcast. And I kind of was thinking about it because we see the squid is next to him, like lying in bed. He does make the comment that he does need to eventually be put back into the water, because needs that, plops her in the tank. The argument continues. He loses it. He smashes the tank. The water has flowed out. And the way the scene is constructed, because they don't imply an advancement of time, this all seems to be happening in real time.
Yeah. Yep.
He immediately walks out, closes the door behind him, slumps down to the floor, and we hear Ambrosius first reacting and then gasping for air and choking. And
then gasping again.
Then there's a pause, then some more gasping, whatever. And it goes on a little bit longer. And you keep thinking maybe he's going to reverse what he's just done, and he's clear that he's not going to. And then we do get the I love you. And I was waiting for one more guess. Now, the thing the person brought up, and I don't disagree with this, it does seem odd that we saw the squid lying next to him in bed.
Yep, we've already seen her out of the water.
And although they didn't tell us how long she's been there for, it seemed like this was right after they've, had their sexual connection, which I don't think happened in the tank. It didn't, I
No,
don't know how that would
the
work
tank above the
exactly.
bed.
Well, which needs to have the other fish removed before he can put them in because of the exotics and whatever, blah, blah, blah. So there is a little bit of a logic gap here. And I got a feeling that somebody might have realized that and they said, okay, there really isn't a way around this, even though I kept thinking, well, yes, there is. You can have the conversation that they have early on, and not be in bed with them. She can already be in the tank,
Right.
implying that it just happened.
Yep.
And I think they could have avoided, because we, other than our friend and listener or us or anyone, I'm sure a lot of people had that thought. It's like, that's kind of weird because we just saw her kind of fine. I actually even went back and played that scene back when I thought, oh, maybe she's like in a little bit of a pool of water next to him, and bed's like, no, it's not. It's just sheets. It's just that no, doesn't make any sense. So I would agree. I feel that's one of those things they felt, okay, you know what? Maybe no one's really going to pay attention to this because at the end of the day, it's more about the fact that he's killing her, period, not the fact, well, it feels like this should probably take an extra 15 minutes or something to really work, or if not longer than that, So it did bother me a little bit. I was like, that doesn't make a lot of sense. But then I was happy because I believe I said last episode, I think we're going to see Deep go more off the deep end, and because he's going to become more and more violent, and we might even kill Ambrosius, whatever. He's going to become more of a killer. Well, what happened in this episode? That's right.
Well.
Because we have that, and they cut right from that to him, hearing / not hearing Homelander as he's talking to him. And that's what he has that whole spiel to Homelander about, I will kill anyone and anything. I will kill every fish in the ocean, which is the funny line. Because
Kill every fish in the ocean.
I like that. I know there's that moment of bewilderment that kind of just flutters over Homelander. That's why I talk about the face reactions. Watch Homelander's face during that whole thing, because you can read so many things going on in his head, and then he's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, he has the perfect what the fuck face. Like, it's so good.
It's so good. So, and then of course, the Deep and Black Noir, or Black Noir 2, if you want to call him that, or a new Noir or whatever.
There's a bromance.
Oh, the bro. Well, we're not there yet. Do the fight first. They do the fight. By the way, great fight scene.
Yeah.
Very, nicely
He's
done.
got narcolepsy.
I love the like, oh, maybe the big Private Idaho fans.
He can fly and he has narcolepsy.
I like that he flew. I like that he speaks. And they all like, wait, he talks? He flies now?
There was so much comedy in that fucking fight, just based around what they thought they knew about him. It's so great.
I wonder if, there's so many other things going on that are all clearly of bigger importance to them. But you almost wonder if someone would have went, is that the same Noir? Because, we know that it's not, and, hence the talking and the flying, whatever.
Yep.
But yeah, and that's the scene when we realize that MM is all in, and he comes, back for the rescue, as does A-Train. And A-Train,
that was a surprise for me. I liked that.
That's the big one, because now he's outed himself, and because when A-Train does that, I did have the moment thinking, wait a minute, there's no way they're gonna kill the Deep and Noir here, and I don't think they're gonna kill A-Train either. Oh, so yeah, the secret's gonna be out, and
yep,
that's it.
He picked a side. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So that was kind of a monumental occurrence there. It was also interesting. That's the scene when you have um, Butcher calling out to Kessler
Yep.
to, you know, and nothing happens. Even though I kept thinking, I kind of feel like you have to like pretty much pass out for Kessler to take over, and
Yeah.
you're still wide awake. You're not the Hulk. I don't think. I don't
The
think that's
silent treatment works both ways.
yes, as he says later, when he's going back and also, but it's fun because then there's that scene in the bar. Then that's where MM makes his decision, and he walk after he's accused of just wanting to have a wank.
Hmm.
Um, when Annie asks um, Butcher about who was Kessler, and I believe it's this scene when he doesn't obviously he acts like he doesn't know what she's talking about, but I think it's during this scene where someone wants to do a selfie
Yep.
with with Annie. Now, what we skipped around before was earlier on they went to go track down the shooter, who turns out to be a shapeshifter, and of course, in
A
good,
skin thief.
yeah, I was about to say, in pure, um, oh, I don't, oh, that's not. Well, anyway, I'll address that in a second. I'll address it right now. In great boys fashion, I mean, we've seen shapeshifting go on a lot of sci-fi shows,
Yep.
myth shows over the years. That, it's handled, and it's usually handled in a specific way. And in this one, it's handled, of course, in the most graphic and gory way possible. Because they initially find a woman who looks like she's been kept in a closet, and I was already like, no, 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 no.
Red flag, red flag.
This is one of those episodes I felt like, I mean, I really loved the episode, but I was kind of like, other than maybe A Train showing up because I didn't know that was going to happen, but everything else that happened in this episode, not including not along with the stuff I had called, I was like, oh yeah, I know what's going to happen now. And I mean, the Annie situation, I was all about. No, it's
Yep.
like, oh, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. I didn't necessarily know it was the woman doing the selfie thing, but I was looking for, but no one's touched her,
Exactly.
but someone has to touch her because
Yeah. And
they,
she's going back up to the apartment. You go to the urgent care. I'm going to go back up all by myself where the creepy skin thief was at. And there's the bloody tampon in the toilet all by myself.
right,
And then we're not going to have the cameras go with.
right.
Well, hello.
So here, I mean, what they establish is later on when the reveal happens, when we find out that that's not that's not Annie, that the woman who was doing the selfie with her and thus came into physical contact with her is the shapeshifter, kidnaps her, and I guess what happens is when the shapeshifter shreds away whatever um carcass of the person that they've created. They don't have to kill the person. Because look, Annie's still
Right.
alive, I mean, she's whatever. But, they do have to I guess they're like just a gory mess, and
Yeah.
they create the skin to look
I
like,
love them running down the stairwell with all that gore and blood. And I'm like, oh, gross.
yes. I was initially trying to figure out what's the point of this, because, the shapeshifter is running down flight after flight and just tearing off different bits of herself there. And I was like, going, and then when it wasn't until when she touches that older woman as she's about to run out the door, and there's that little look or something or something. I went, oh, okay, I see. This is how this ability works. It has to be something you would come into contact with, and you generate the skin. Which then I don't know how quickly it grows on you, maybe immediately or
Well, I love it because it's like it does like the eye thing, right? Like the eye shutter thing. So there's a lot to this character that's similar to characters like Rogue on X-Men. But rather than being able to just automatically shift to another version, you have to remove what's on top. And so it's the boys, so it's going to be as gory as possible. The shedding of this skin is one thing, but this is shredding of this skin is more like, having to pull that off. But it's something we see them do so often where they'll have another a superhero in mind from something else, and then they'll grab some of them, but then put these weird little, um, you know, sometimes really gross twists to that character to make them their own version of that power. But you get that little eye flicker, and I haven't done it. I'm kind of curious now that we're talking about it. I'd kind of like to go back to this episode and just go to that scene where she takes a selfie with Annie, and when the camera flashes, just see if her eyes do that thing.
Oh, I see. The only thing I'll tell you that I did do, in relation to this specific storyline, I was once they showed us when it happened, and that's pretty much at the very end of the episode. I did rewind back, and I wanted to watch all the Annie stuff that happens after that to see,
Yep.
because I wanted to watch her performance and anything she says.
See if
And
it was different.
right now, the only thing we see with her after that, because it cuts out of that scene earlier on. It's when everybody has come back. This is after Kamiko's leg had to be cut off, and one thing we didn't get to was the sad tragedy. If Samir had only known that they were going to let him go,
They were gonna let you go, man.
maybe he wouldn't have taken the virus and stabbed Kamiko in the leg. And, and of course, we know that means Frenchie's going to have to cut off that leg. And of course, there's no sword or machete nearby, so we have to saw it off, which is only the worst, most horrific way to do it, of course. At least it was a big saw, not like a little teeny tiny saw. Anyway.
I loved it we had the whole time we had, the 90s hits, just the 90s pop hits roaring in the back.
Yeah, I was trying to ignore all that. But the point was that the only subsequent Annie scenes we see is the scene where they're all talking about what's happened, and they're reacting to, well, all they have is the leg, but there's the virus is in the leg, so they can, with Frenchie they can, and she says something because she's referring to something someone else said about weeks or months to whatever. And then she kind of reiterates it. But the problem is she should know the way she says it. I keep thinking, you should know how long this has been. It hasn't been as long as you're saying it is, I don't think. I mean, it's a very minor thing, and one could say, well, if she means since everything started, like, no, I don't think that's what they're talking about. They're talking about this here. It hasn't been that long, but she's referring to something she heard, which didn't really connect to this. It's a very little thing. Did I actually write down a note on it, or did I not? I probably didn't, because, I'm too stupid. Yeah, I probably didn't. But I did notice that. I was like, okay, that it's a slight disconnect, but it's something I don't think anyone would have noticed. But it was one of those things, if you watch
But
it, like,
now you would notice it knowing what we know.
yeah, it's like she wouldn't have said that way. But that's just the way I'm reading that scene. And then, of course, when she dresses, next time we see her is when she dresses up as Starlight and then has insane sex with Huey, apparently, whatever. So poor Huey. I mean, he's going to find out that, and then you're like, because then I'm kind of wondering, like, oh, I wonder what the shapeshifter actually is.
Right?
Because we saw at one point when Sage is talking to someone that looks like just a schlubby dude. I think and it looked like a guy there. And of course, now we've seen, it being multiple women in a row, but I don't know if the shapeshifter actually is a woman or not, or if it has any gender. If there was any person that might qualify as a they without me having to think about it, it might be a shapeshifter.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that this is this is my theory on this, is that we're gonna maybe find out that Annie is shapeshifted. This is shapeshifter Annie. And it'll have something to do with the virus.
Yeah, well, there'll be information.
Well, I feel like the virus might happen to this shapeshifter.
Maybe. I mean, it feels like it seems to me they're setting up to have to kind of frame Starlight to be the one who actually kills um, Bob Singer in front of everybody because it'd be like two birds with one stone there. Um, that would make the most
Yeah.
sense to me. And I'm also assuming that the laptop that the
Yes.
shape
Yeah.
shifting Annie takes out probably has the recordings from the mansion and whatever with the
Yeah.
plan. So,
The dinner party.
well, should also mention that earlier on that Huey went to see Vicky Newman
Yeah.
because they did have that kind of connection when he worked for her with her in a previous season. That she still has some. Again, there's people looking for humanity all the time, and she clearly didn't know about the internment camps,
Right.
but was
But
it?
do you think he reached her? I feel like he did.
I think, I mean, it feels to me that they've given the character a couple different moments that they could go in the direction of at a pinnacle point, she won't do what she's
Right.
supposed to. Yeah, I think there is a bit of that. Either it's everything from the guilt of what she has done to her own child, to Huey still seeing the good in her, to and so on and so forth, and then knowing that she would actually be willingly part of something as horrific as, real internment camps for,
Right.
dissidents and people and pretty much anyone objecting to what they're doing. Yeah, so I very much could see them going that way. It feels like that's where they're headed there. Whether she would be the one to prevent the assassination or not, or if something happens before that was to happen. Um, Oh, that's interesting. They could have a scene with her blowing up Starlight's head, but it's not actually Starlight,
Right.
and then exposing herself as having having abilities too. Yeah, I could see that happening. Actually, I could see that. Also, I do wonder if she went to the trouble of rescuing. Well, I don't know if rescuing is the right word, but she helped her dad.
Yep.
He's. I can't believe we're not gonna. I can't believe we won't see him again. I feel like he should pop up again. Otherwise, where the hell is he?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is he in Belize? Maybe, or
Floating in
Florence?
Belize, baby.
They keep coming up all these like foreign locales. Florence, please. Although I think is it A Train early on? It's like, what, you think they can't get to Belize?
Which is such a great point.
Yeah.
When evil is allowed to reign, it just spreads its wings. It doesn't just stay in one place.
I was watching this dopey Godzilla Kong movie the other day. It was like, wow, God, it's not about being in Tokyo anymore. He's hanging out in Rome. He's sleeping in
He can go where he wants. He's ginormous.
he's sleeping in the Colosseum, which is troubling. Because every time he gets up, he steps out, he knocks over like 800 more bricks. So, it's like,
just a bull in a china shop.
what?
That guy.
You can't lie on the beach.
Now, I think there's another really important thing that's just said. There's
Mhm.
just this little moment that's said in the show that this is what I was going back to referring to. I'm thinking maybe Ryan,
Mhm.
because when Sage gets fired,
Yep.
right? Lander says, "We're done. Go, get out, go back to your
Mhm.
whatever." When she's arguing, back at him and defending herself, she says, "There's one person but there's one person you can never defeat."
Yep. That's very important.
And it's got to be Ryan.
Maybe it would.
I can't imagine what else we'd be dealing with. I mean, I don't think it's like, a Huey is the chosen one kind of situation.
No,
I feel
no,
like it
no.
has to be Ryan. Like, a big part of why Homelander has taken Ryan under his wing and is doing all the things he's doing is because he's the one that can beat him. He's the one that could take him out.
Yeah, I do wonder about Homelander's dad, though. I always think we're going to see him again too.
Do you think so?
I don't think it's going to happen this season. I think I think next. I don't think it'll be this season, but I wouldn't be shocked to see Soldier Boy show up again next season because if they go through the trouble of not killing him, and they didn't kill him, they just made a thing of him being taken away by the government. you know.
Right,
So
right. Yeah, he's captive and
that
frozen and
there's a, so basically it's like a secret weapon, to have on ice, kind of to be used again. Although that would kind of be repeating a storyline, but it just seems to me, especially when you only have one more. They've made it clear there's only going to be one more season of this. It's like, pull out all the stops in the next season, and
but here's a question.
Mhm.
This is scientific theory on something that is make believe. Soldier Boy was made, right?
Yes,
Scientifically made.
yes,
Homelander, scientifically made.
yes,
Ryan wasn't.
right. I think wasn't that the big thing with Ryan, because wasn't he technically the first one for that to happen with? That
Yeah,
that wasn't
yeah,
basically didn't come out of a lab or wasn't done by injection or whatever.
right.
Which whether that makes him
Naturally occurring.
right. Well, I mean, I would agree because Ryan. I mean, technically Ryan should be like the Superboy to Superman here, and therefore he should have the same abilities and power and invulnerability as his dad,
Right.
which means how does he fight him? Although just because he has the abilities being younger, they might not be quite on the same level. For those of our listeners who watch Invincible, all you got to do is think about the father and the son there, who that's his son, and and technically has, the same abilities and to whatever and strength, whatever. But it's also pretty clear that dad's stronger. At least at this point. It's possible maybe as the other one gets older, but at this point, and he's what is he? Because he's college age on Invincible. He's not there yet. That even beaten that dad could take him. And Ryan's considerably younger. I don't know how old is Ryan supposed to be. 12, 13? Is he even that old yet? Not sure.
Yeah, yeah, he's young teen. I mean 12, 13 tops.
Oh, it was funny. A few weeks ago, I was discussing the show with some friends and who listened to the podcast, and one of them noticed something that was kind of off with Ryan throughout several of the episodes. I did not go back to watch it myself, but I take their word for it because they've been very good with their observations before. Um, it looked to him quite often when Ryan is, and I didn't notice it in this episode, but again, was I really looking for it? But he thought in earlier episodes, it looked a lot to him like Ryan's dialogue was being dubbed in, that it wasn't the actor speaking, that it was kind of like there was something going on there. I didn't notice it myself, but I will take their word for it. And
Yeah.
it's
It
very,
wouldn't be the first time it's happened on a preteen kid going through voice changes.
yeah, and it's very possible either be for whatever number of reasons, maybe they looped in his dialogue or whatever. And the kid doesn't really talk all that many times anyway, but I'm I forgot to go back and look. I probably maybe between now and next and the final episode, I'll try to put on, I'll just look for Ryan scenes in the earlier episodes and see if I actually notice it myself. But I do take their word for it because they've been pretty good at noticing things in the past that and brought them to my mind that, then I took credit for, no, I kid, I've never, wait, did I ever? No, don't know.
Just doing a quick little brush on here on the old Google. It looks like there was a mention in the last season when we had Soldier Boy where it was mentioned that Ryan's heat vision is stronger than Homelander's.
Oh. That's interesting. So that means if that power that he's just come into, that means all the other ones may eventually surpass his dad as well. That's interesting. So when they fire Sage and she says that, oh, and she leaves the book there, with the
Mm-hmm.
plans, whatever, which is interesting. So I'm still kind of knowing Sage. I wonder if there's smartest person, somebody steps ahead, yada yada yada.
Yep.
Wonder if there's contingency plans. This is a possibility that she would have
Yep.
foreseen. If she foresaw all these other things, I don't know how she doesn't foresee this, especially with someone like Homelander being. This should be a very, in my mind, I think she definitely has a plan B because Homelander is so much about his ego. He,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of what he promised, he may back down or do something like what she just did. But this is now, it's funny because this leads to something that's funny, but then I'm wondering if something dramatic happens as a result. You made a joke about it earlier because we have the Deep and Noir walking down the hallway. This is post fight, where they lost, but they can't kill them apparently. And all that they keep going,
They're
bro,
feeling pretty good about themselves.
bro. Especially because, because I think, Deep has that connection to the original Noir, as he said in the other episode, and now he's fighting with this guy, and,
Yep.
they were both in it, and he got to show that he can fly, and they were the ones who found out it was A Train, and da. And they see Sage, and he makes the comment to her, and then we discover that, hey, guess what? You're not the only one of the 7 she's been banging.
Yep.
And apparently, when she does the other one,
Because she wants to.
lobotomies are not necessary. And you see his reaction to it. Bro. But I wonder if that's just one more, at the Deep, because he's thinking he's in with this woman. Was like, no,
Yep.
you were literally it's just what Ambrosius kind of told you, literally just using you for sex, and she needs to be mentally challenged in order to even be okay with it. Meanwhile,
I would say honestly, he's not even being used for sex. He's just being used for lobotomies.
yeah, I guess so. Although she's been doing it to herself before, so I don't know why she would need someone else to do it. But I think it's another blow to the ego. And although there's going to be the guilt of, well, guess what? Your squid lover was right on the mark, whatever.
Yeah, and she really loved you, and you killed her.
I wonder if this is just one more thing which is going to harden that heart of the Deep and make him into something more menacing. Whether it be the following episode or next season. I don't think they'll kill. I don't know if they'll kill Noir 2 seasons in a row. But I just thought it was interesting. It's like, okay, another step as
Yeah,
the Deep
absolutely.
becomes.
And I could see, as you were talking about with Sage, there's no way she doesn't have a contingency. There's no way. There's a plan B. There's probably a plan C.
Oh yeah.
The book being left behind could be the original book with the plans, but she has a way to maneuver around those plans. So she left it there because she knew that they would follow those plans because they weren't going to come up with this shit by themselves.
Yeah.
Or it's a different book with
the
same pages that look to be the same, but different plan.
You can have a different book. It's just like, it's just like people with their financial records. Like, which set of books is that?
Yeah, exactly.
Same thing with plans.
So I don't fear of anything for her and her ability to move forward with whatever it is she's gonna want to do. I think she got in where she needed to be, and she probably had her own agenda most of the time anyway.
Yeah, I feel she'll still play a massive part in the final episode, even to the chagrin of Homelander, where he'll realize, oh, maybe she had the brains and the wisdom, where although it's not like she possesses a substance like a kryptonite for Homeland or something, but he might have to at a certain point defer to her because she has come up with a plan to outdo the other plan, I think she'll play a massive, whether that'll feed into the following season or not, I don't know, because I don't know. We'll see. You don't know. Because sometimes you have these characters, they come in one season and you think, oh, we're going to see them next season. Nope. Stormfront, no, we'll see as a little carcass for a moment or two. Nope. Soldier, no, I guess not. No.
Well, and until then, we can all take comfort in knowing that Homelander had to sit there in the tower and cry about A Train.
Yes. The crocodile tears if I ever saw.
It just reminds me of, the OG Noir situation too, this idea of you betrayed me. It's like, yeah, but I mean, you're you. Like, how do you not see that coming?
Really?
Oh, wait, you think that like you're infallible. That's right.
That's right. Alrighty. So we have one more episode to look forward to, which is the final episode of the season. That'll be next week. We will eventually get to that one when we can both record. That'll be fun. But what's more fun than the other show we talk about? Evil. title of
And
this, the title of
what a
this one,
twist.
supposedly,
Supposedly, according to the title on screen,
yeah,
right?
was How to Save a Life. And as I always like to do, credits for this one were about 20 minutes and change into the episode, and the warning was don't go swimming for at least 1 hour after skipping an intro.
Solid advice.
I love that we get a combo that we're not used to that takes up some screen time in the beginning of this episode. And there's few less likely combos to have in any episode of Evil than Cheryl having a extended conversation within the confines of a confessional booth with David.
It's just, oh my God, I love that scene so much.
It's so good, and it's fun because the writers, the creators, and whatever. Obviously, I mean, I'm sure they probably have a religious background themselves, and the fact that you have a show that so much of it takes place in the church, and one of your main characters was becoming and now is a priest and whatever. But they really could take the opportunity to have Cheryl just blast the church and how and we're not on CBS anymore, so you could have her say lines like "I fucking hate you,"
I was just gonna say, no, seriously, I fucking hate you guys.
and they go and she's mentioning everything from the altar boys and this and this. She's going, "Oh, okay, they're just going for it here," but Cheryl once again is giving up the secrets, giving out the information. And I mean, again, she doesn't go as far as to tell anybody what happened with Andy, but she does get into the Timothy, the Antichrist stuff, which is kind of important. This is all about wanting to get the baptism. Okay. I love the whole baptism storyline. It's
So
just
much.
so good. Because if they had gone about it in a way where it turned out to be David doing it, I'm sure it would have been fine. But the fact you get
Yes.
Cheryl showing up because it has to be like a day, the night before when she was originally planning to bring the kid because the schedule at Leland and the manager has been sped up, whatever. And we have these scenes with Cheryl, Wallace Shawn's father Ignatius, and Andrea Martin's sister Andrea. And I'm like, oh, how can this not be anything but fantastic? Thank you for bringing Father Ignatius back. I like my Wallace Shawn on this show as much as I can. People might have hated him on that Star Trek show, but we love him here. So
I adore him. This was okay. I feel like that entire baptism, it couldn't have been written better by Mel Brooks. It was just like so on the mark. The way that, the prayer and everything that was like dragging on and on and on and on before they even started the baptism. And then, do you accept Jesus Christ and the church and the that just kept going. It was so hilarious.
The key part was when basically asking if she renounces, essentially asking if she renounces Satan.
Yeah.
And she and the pause with that because she knows where she works. Yep. She knows what's going on.
I love the look that Sister Andrea gives her too, like do ya?
Yeah, it's just so much fun. And, especially when you have, Sister Andrea, who's pretty much when she takes a look, cause, she's got the demon eyes, so she can see it. Yep. She can see everything. And she sees, oh yeah, we got to get this one done, whatever.
We got to do it.
And obviously Ignatius is totally in the dark about everything, which is just, helps everything. And of course you get all the silly effects of, oh, it's a blackout. Oh, the doors are wildly
There's
open.
No water.
Whatever. Yeah. When the pipes are frozen. That's all. Rain. She goes out with a bucket to get rainwater. I kept going, how long did she stand there for? Because you gotta have enough water in the basin, to dip the baby. But whatever, it's like the thing.
Also, I'm assuming it's a Catholic church in every single Catholic church that I've ever been into, and I think this one included because I think earlier in the episode when she walks into the church to do confession or not confession with David, she looks at the bowl of holy water and then goes, no. So right. They could have just got that, I guess. But
I don't know. There might be rules. There very well
could be. It's the Catholic Church. There are a few.
Yeah, I'm about to say. I've heard with Catholicism, there's a few rules. I mean,
there's a few.
Not sure.
And then the picture at the end. Oh my God.
No, it's not. It's a
Sure.
combination of you have the picture, of course. No. But I love the printed out baptism thing, which
Baptism
is so
certificate.
it's almost a childlike, goofy certificate. It looks like,
It fits into a baby book,
but it's
right?
so
How
no, yeah,
cute.
it's nauseatingly sweet and cute, and of course, and she doesn't tape it to the door. She doesn't staple it. She's got a hammer and nails. And she makes a reference to like oh god, I forgot what it was. It was such a good line. I should have written it down. She's referencing mm, god damn it, I forgot what it was. Bad podcaster. But it's a famous thing, a historic thing about nailing the notice to the door, and I didn't write it down. Oh well, I made a mistake. I should have written that down. Anyway, by the way, it didn't occur to me this episode. By the way, I love Father Ignatius's reaction, and when he expresses how he doesn't trust Father Dominic,
Yes,
the Vatican
I don't
CIA dude.
trust him.
By the way, it didn't occur to me to just now. I was like, hey, you know what? Dominic is a name that's very close to demonic. Just popped in my head in this one. Um, the So we had a couple episodes in a row where the case of the week was minimalized to just be a factor in the ongoing storylines. This week, we never even got to an actual official case of the week.
No.
The case becomes David's vision that he's actually experiencing for someone named Tyler. Tyler. Anyway, the one person listening will get that joke. It's
Hey, shout out to that one person.
there was this really creepy late night comedy show, which I hated the fact it was on late at night, because if you watched that show late at night and then went to sleep, you're more likely to have nightmares from that than any episode of Twilight Zone.
Right,
It
yeah.
was it was a Wonder Chosen. Anyone, if you've ever heard of this show,
Yep.
feel free to track down an episode or two
Yep.
of it, and you'd be like, okay, I don't think I can watch that show anymore. It was and it's perfect that we're talking about this right now, especially because the boys had some puppets in it. This is basically Wonder Shows, and was like, hey, I wonder what Sesame Street would be like if it was run by Satan. That's basically Wonder Shows, and there's one episode where they just keep referencing a kid named Tyler, and they just keep having a voice going, Tyler, Tyler.
Yeah.
And
It's it's like a parody of Yo Gabba Yabba, right?
yes, it's so.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
So he has these visions of someone named Tyler and having a surprise birthday party, and then later on we see that Tyler and his wife Daniela, they're even though they have children, they lost a child, or I don't know if I think they reference how they lost the kid. I think he died
I think it was an accident. Like I think we're to assume it was a car
I
accident.
think it was an accident, it wasn't, I don't think it was like some sort of disease or anything like that.
No.
And yeah, anyway, basically it's established because as David is trying to talk to someone who can't hear him, although he does somehow get through to him ever so slightly, that initially Tyler wants to kill himself, and you're like, nah, I should, because the only thing better than suicide, as one of my favorite comedians says, is murder suicide. So
That shows you really mean it.
yeah, let me get rid of these kids and whatever. So the case is trying to
Yeah,
track
because he
down
has
this
this
guy.
delusion, right? Like this idea that we all have to be together. This is the only way.
Right. So, and we get these lovely little moments throughout the episode. I love the cake that they bring, which the four girls worked on. So it's cut into the four little sections.
Yeah, okay. Can I just make a comment about this cake?
Mhm.
The cake's really cute. It's really well done
Mhm.
for four chaotic girls.
Mhm.
I'm looking at this, I think the idea of a cake being cut into four different decorations is very on par to something that these girls would do.
Mhm.
However, I've seen how these girls interact with each other in a small space when they're all together, and there's no way that effing cake would come out looking like that. Just saying.
I'm going to say they wouldn't be there all at the same time. I've actually gotten a cake I think I got a cake at my, I think at a bar I used to go to. How many years ago was it? 19, 2019. It was 2019, I believe it was. And the cake was split into, I believe it was actually split into four sections. Because, and you can get these cakes at certain bakeries. It's it's like four cakes in one cake. So, one quarter was red velvet, one quarter was
Right.
carrot,
Yeah.
one quarter was, with that, whatever that coffee creamish thing, and one was the more
You bet.
traditional one. And they were all so I was like, oh, I love so my thing was like, okay, I'm going to say they didn't actually make the actual cake itself. They went and got the cake. That's the four pieces because it looked like it was four different types of cake, whatever. And then she gave them the artistic license to decorate them as they fit. I didn't get a good look at how the decorations were. Like,
It's
it,
really,
it
really,
looked
really
elaborate.
nice. It
It's
was
fine.
really, really nice. Listen, though, you know what it wasn't? It was no fudgy whale.
Nah, fudge oil. Tired of fudge oil. No more fudge oil jokes. Another great thing that happens in this episode is when they're trying to figure out and they're filtering through David's visions and they realize that he refers to things I think he calls them AOLs and I can think AOL,
Yep.
really? We're talking about AOL here? I thought I was bad with my Earth link, but I still talk about AOL. No. It's these things that kind of lay over his vision that he's taking from his own life that he's seen or experienced somewhere, and he has to filter them out because they're not part of the true vision of of whatever the location or thing is that he's seeing. Whether it be like, oh, that lamp, oh, that's the lamp you have there, oh, or that, and Kristen puts together the idea that a book that he sees in the person's shelf. Oh, there's one, that's a very specific book. And there's one person I know who gives that to all his patients, which then works Dr. Boggs into the episode. The fact that we also discover in this episode that when Leland calls to get more recordings of Kristen from his little spy, who's been there since the very first season, but Cheryl got her fired, for that very reason. And he's actually on a list of no, no, no.
That bitch.
I was like, wow, Cheryl's got it going on. I wish I'd seen this scene. I wonder if that scene was ever just filmed and it had to be cut for time or something, but I would have liked to have seen, or they didn't bother because they would have had to pay someone to come in to be the actress again or whatever. But I would have liked to have seen how that went down. But Boggs gets to participate in this episode. And even though we knew he's initially falling into the, I can't reveal patients, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
But then when we discover his new patient or recent patient, and first time he hears the husband's name and it's like, oh, cause there's no name like Tyler. So it's like, I can't say anything, but you should be by my office in less than a half an hour. I can't tell you why, but that's when you should
Got
be
a woman here.
So, but there's, this was a very David centric episode, which made sense because we were a little David light in one of the previous ones. It was interesting because everything was either the David vision stuff or the Cheryl baptism stuff. So this is the rare episode. It was both Ben and actually Kristen who didn't get as much screen time.
Right.
Kristen,
which is okay because the one screen time that we did get with Kristen, she was improperly wearing a hat.
Well, that is your thing with her.
Oh my God. I tried so hard to not get mad at this woman in this episode, and I couldn't. She showed up with a hat.
Yeah, she always has to find a way to annoy us. My favorite thing that I thought that made me laugh the most, it's funny with all the stuff with, Sister Andrea and Father Ignatius and Cheryl snapping these funny lines and Leland's reacting to stuff and after the baptism happens and he's trying to, and the kid just keeps laughing and it's kind of, it's like, and when he looks like he's going to kill the kid with a pillow, which I was like going, oh, this might be my that might be my favorite thing because it's like, I know you're not going to go there because I know the kid has to still be alive, but I love that there's even a chance that you would go there. That made me very happy. But my favorite thing is when David Kristen and Ben arrive at the people's home, which turns out to be right downstairs from,
Same building.
Leland's place, whatever, which now is like, oh, well, now you see why the vision you were having and we were going to, it's like you were just off by a story. You were one flight down. But it's when his explanation for why they're there. He says he's from St. Ignatius, the school, and she's oh, and I'm a mother who has their kids going there. And then Ben's a teacher, and there's a line like, I love the school and science. It's the long pause. I love the school and science. Which is so good. The way he hits the science thing. I actually wound it back. I was like, that really made me laugh. Especially in an episode where it's like, yeah, you know what? You know what's the one thing that's really playing no part in this episode? Science.
Mm-hmm.
Everything about this episode is all about visions and the paranormal and religion and whatever. It's about as anti-science an episode as you'll have on this show, pretty much. So anyway, it's just a fun little episode. And the interesting thing is that Cheryl is so sure that she's going to be murdered fairly soon, but it's also telling David a lot of information, not just about the kid being the Antichrist, but also the way they view one of the other daughters, Alexis. That's very interesting. And Cheryl's right, because he's like, you need to tell Kristen. I was like, no. I'm telling you. You're the one I can tell. She's not going to listen. And she won't, because, she's Kristen.
Right? Yeah, she won't. She will not listen. I mean, even when David is sitting there explaining to her about his vision, she immediately psychoanalyzes him.
Right.
Oh, is this because, you think about the past you didn't choose and what have you. So no, she would not listen to any reason. At some point she's going to have to, though. There's going to come a time where she's going to have to really open her eyes and take it in.
Well, let's take this episode right here. Regardless of any explanation she has earlier on for, oh, that person represents you and the life you could have had and whatever. Yeah. That's nice. And way to go, Dr. Obvious, But then when everything happens the way it happens,
they find the person.
There's no psychological explanation for it. It actually happens. That book, you're the one you're the one who put us on the trail of it, Kristen. The book he describes, you remember as something your doctor and then it turns out that woman, and then it's that's the guy. It's all there.
Yep.
That was his vision. How do you explain that one, Miss Psychologist?
Explain that away.
Science dude, he's keeping his mouth shut. He's like, I'll probably get a lot of screen time in the next episode. I've got, I still got that gin I got to deal with, and he's still doubting everything about it, whatever. Although he gets another episode where he gets to sing a little bit. So it's like, oh, wow. No one told me I was going to sing so much this episode. Is there going to be a musical episode of this season?
I mean, I really hope not, because I could definitely handle not hearing Ben sing again. It's not top notch.
I don't think I want to hear either one of them sing again. I think if I have to hear one of them sing, I'd rather hear David sing than the other two, quite frankly.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I really liked the story with David. I thought it was interesting. It was nice to kind of want to see where it all was going to lead.
Right.
The end, it was kind of hard for me because I like how it ends. I like the conversation that he has with him. It's really meaningful. It's not just meaningful in the sense of faith or saving this guy's life. I think it's really, really meaningful for David and really, truly accepting what his gift is for. Mm-hmm. And it's not to be used as a tool by the Vatican.
Right.
He's a tool for God. And I think he's realizing it. What his real mission is, why he is in the field that he's in.
Right.
So it's really important for that. The performance I felt was kind of only maybe half there. It was a little I felt like it was a little bit pushed. I mean, not enough for me to not love the episode. But all in all, the whole baptism thing, the idea that we're that we're painting, a sacrificial Baphomet on this hardwood floor, and like don't step on it, the paint's still wet. Like all of these little moments. The babysitter, oh my God, the babysitter is awesome.
Right.
When she's like, "Nope, I said what I said. You'll get him tomorrow." I like seeing that she was working with Cheryl, rather than working with it's like she knows the evil is the evil, but she's picking a side. We don't even know this babysitter, and I'm happy she picked a side. It's
I thought, I gotta be honest, I thought the babysitter was the original mother.
maybe
The one who carried the kid.
it maybe, I don't know. I thought she died. Maybe I just assumed she did. I don't know.
I'm gonna check. I wasn't sure about that.
Yeah,
I was thinking about it because I kept thinking
but that makes sense. I
she
mean,
she
it would
acted
make perfect sense of why
she
she would have this
she was
child.
acting like she was an established character, so that's why I thought. So I'm gonna look it up right now while you talk for another
And it would
30
make sense
seconds.
because Cheryl did try to take care of her in the hospital, and
That's what I'm thinking.
you know,
So let me hear. I'm in the episode. Oh, got a high rating on IMDb and everything.
good
Well,
episode.
well, while I'm doing that, I'll talk about the thing because I'm believing that the whole thing that Father Demonic,
Yes.
I mean Dominic was talking about earlier on about, you know, and the artifacts he took out, like that
It's like
blade, which looks
a
like
Danish and a blade.
the
What was the
Danish.
other thing?
Danish looks, it was a gold, ring like thing, which was, it was it was like the cigar cutter.
Yes, yep, because we saw it
And we
later
see
on when they,
when we cut to, when we move through the walls and we go upstairs to Leland's
yep,
place and we see the food laid out Danish
yep.
and we see someone snip a cigar and that's what's right by the
That's the thing
ashtray.
I couldn't, yep, and
That's
that's
the
what I couldn't
cigar cutter.
remember.
And then of course the room, and it's all older white men, of course, because
In suit.
they've already been very clear that there wouldn't be any women here from the way with the glass ceiling episodes and such.
Not by these corporate standards.
And they're doing their blood ritual, and they're all it's like, oh, this is what Father Demonic was.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep calling him demonic now.
I don't
And you wonder
trust-
because when they unveil, we don't see what it is, but I feel like there's just, they changed the lighting ever so slightly. So there's a very slight red hue that hits like Leland's
Yeah,
face when he looks at it. It's not overdone. It's not like the golden light from the Pulp Fiction briefcase or
right.
something. But I remember going, oh, I think I get the feeling it's red. There's a certain red, but what they're beholding, we don't know. We don't know what the image or what it is exactly. But it's like, oh, David, you were so close. I mean, yes, you say,
Close.
but it's funny because, when David is insisting on it matters because he's trying to save somebody, and Father Dominic is being obsessive, being dismissive of it because, there's something of a much more important thing he's supposed to be doing. And then we see it's like, well, not to take away from saving a family, but there may be, Father Dominic might actually be right. It's a hard
We
thing
all
to
love
say because
humanity.
it's that Antichrist upstairs, you know. You
Now,
Now the
let
bapt
me
does the
let me
has the baptism changed that is the
yes.
question.
Because if he's had the baptism, then I don't think whatever ritual it is that they're trying to they're trying to harness is going to be able to maybe work the way that they want it to. But I do have a question about just film in general. And whenever we have something in the story, you've seen it 100,000 times if you've seen it once. Whenever there's like a ritual in a story that involves you needing a blood sacrifice, like you need to put a little blood into the chalice or around the baby's crib or whatever the case is, why do these people just slice the living shit out of their entire hand? I mean, because you never hear them say a certain amount of blood is required, just some blood. And every single time, I know it's just like this theatrical draw, to just slowly run that blade across your entire hand. But if you've ever had, even a sort of serious cut run across the palm of your hand, like your hand's screwed for like 2 weeks.
Oh no, I've been saying that since I was a kid because
Like,
this is
why
something
are we
we've
just
seen.
not a little poke, a little pokey drip drip, and we're good, right?
Why can't they just do the thing? Look, when I was a little kid, well, I wasn't little, but I was 12, whatever. I remember seeing The Thing, it's John Carpenter thing, and and everyone was seeing The Thing. We all, most, if not all of us agree on one thing. With all, if, with all the horrific gore and crazy shit that happens throughout that movie, and people's chest cavities all of a sudden caving in and gigantic creatures popping out and heads falling off and becoming giant spider things and whatever. No, 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 no. We're all in the theater going, holy shit, motherfucker, whenever we're watching it. But the scene where they have to each cut their finger to take a blood test, and they show a close up of the cutting the finger, we're all like, that's the part that gets us. So I'm
Hmm.
seeing that, and that's just like a slice on the finger. Yeah, this has been a thing. It's been a mob thing. It's been a
Yeah.
Dark Ages thing. We either be witchcraft or the mafia, whatever. I was like, everyone does this, dude. Do you know how much that hurts? And you're gonna have the scar, and how you gonna hold anything in that hand for the next few
You're
weeks?
like cutting
Do
tendons
you
if you're
always
not
do
careful.
you always, do you always make sure you don't use your dominant hand, because how are you going to wipe your ass later? I think about these things.
Yeah. All
By the
right.
way,
Well, I'm glad I'm not alone in that.
that woman is the surrogate. The character's name is,
Okay.
yeah, same, yeah. Character's
So
name was
slash
Leslie.
what I said, not the babysitter, the surrogate mother
Yeah,
is pretty awesome.
I looked her up. She's been in like 7 episodes so far on the series. Um, But was there something? I feel like there was one other thing about that episode, or maybe that was it. I don't know. I, I would, yeah. It. I liked the David stuff only because, as we've said before, every episode when we get into the David abilities stuff pushes forward what he's able to do. Although I did like Sister Andrea initially throwing him the fuck out of her room. Like she didn't even want to, and then he makes the point of like, I'm trying to save someone, whatever, and then she goes to help him. But otherwise, I like that she has no patience for it, but he thinks when she says the thing about you have powers, abilities, and you're just doing it for magic tricks, and it's like, and I keep going, why would you say that? He's not, he's clear. I thought he already established he's trying to save someone here, but now he makes it clear, whatever. So I like that because it pushes that forward. But look, this episode, it's the baptism stuff is what takes over the episode for me, and
Yep,
that's
same.
that's the joy of the episode, and where they go with that, because now the wonder is, okay, now they've done their wacky blood ritual, and but I'm calling forth Satan for the Antichrist, but I kind of need to know, is
Yeah.
is the because the kid, every moment we've got with the kid since, he seems to be just a normal laughing kid now.
Yeah, he
So,
seems pretty content and happy, maybe a little cuter even.
so is that all it takes to make the Antichrist go away? Just a baptism? I mean, again, don't know these things.
All those rules.
It
We got to
would
pull out the Catholic
it would
rule book.
it would have made those Omen movies really short.
Solve that problem right quick.
But so I'm kind of curious if that is in fact the case, which means then you have a storyline of Leland trying to navigate with the manager and all other people, that a huge case of fraud, and how long that could possibly go on for, or if in fact this is a temporary solution or not. I mean, it's made out as though it's not. So maybe so the setup is though it's not. I don't know if there's a way to reverse it, but who knows? Satan's involved. Who the hell knows?
I would like to just throw in one more little thing with Cheryl is the proof that she does things at surface level. You go, oh, she's a grandma. She's taking care of her own. But then it's like Yeah, no, you just like took this kid, your grandson, that you kept calling my grandson, and then you got him baptized, and then you threw him right back into the hands of that guy.
Right.
Like you just delivered him right back. Like he wouldn't try to suffocate him with a pillow. Like,
Yeah, I know, but I don't know what else she could do. I mean, she can't. Kristen's not going to take the kid with all that's
no,
going on,
not yet.
and they're gonna come for her anyway because she thinks they're gonna murder her. I don't think she even if she goes to Belize, or Florence,
We're all
or
going to
or
Belize
or
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 Florence or
or
Branson.
Branson. There, that Jinx, buy me a Coke. We said had to get a Branson one in there. No, it was a fun episode. I enjoyed it. I mean, this was a week where I think, not that I really ever compare them, but I'll probably give the better episode award to the boys in this one because it was such a nicely balanced episode, kind of like, which maybe might have been lacking in some of the other boys episodes this season, but this one I thought was kind of worked on all cylinders. Gave me a little bit of everything. Gave me some violence, gave me some laughs, gave me some sex. Not that I really want. Anyway, um, maybe I do. Anyway, all right. So the next episodes, because I don't remember if I do this before or after the end thing. I'll just say it now. The finale of The Boys will be titled Assassination Run.
Hmm. Yeah, God, lots
Hmm.
of on the nose, huh?
Hmm.
How
Hmm.
did they know?
Hmm. Yeah, I already promised Jamie when we started recording tonight that I'm not going to make any reference to anything that's happened today or
But with
anything.
that being the next title, oh my God.
I'm only going to say this, and then I want to move on because we're actually moving at a nice clip for a change. It's very interesting that the season starts with a trial and then which ends up going away and the person's acquitted with something they obviously did, whatever, blah, 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 or getting away with it, whatever. I was like, oh, that's interesting. That's all happened. The episode comes on, right? When there's a
It's
trial
happening in
happening
real
with
time.
someone
Yeah.
who has all these followers and da, 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 da. And as we get to the end, it's like, then we have a situation with an assassination, and we know that at the very least there's going to be an assassination attempt in the
Yep.
final episode.
Yeah, and the key factor is this was mostly what written 2 years ago,
Yeah,
right? That's when they started filming, and so it's maybe The Boys is like the new Simpsons.
maybe Simpsons did it. Anyway, that's it. See, didn't make really an overt reference to it. Don't want to talk about it. Not the place for it. Don't want to go there. Don't need to. Don't want to. Not gonna. The title of the evil episode. This is the one title that was in place when everything else didn't have a title. So I'm
Interesting.
guessing it's a real title. I don't know, but that's what I'm guessing. I saw it in two different places. I was like, okay, I'm going to say this must be the title. And it was there. I noticed that at the beginning of the season when it was like they had the first four titles, then no titles for like the next four. And then all of a sudden episode 9 had a title. Because I believe this will be, is that what we're up to? Episode 9? That'll be the next one. I think it is. That title will be, and it's very funny for me, How to Teach a Chatbot. Which is, I find
You
kind of
know a thing or
I
two.
kind of find funny because a way that I've made a little, and now it's little to none, supplemental income this past several months was essentially doing things which are teaching a chatbot. I'm kind of curious. It's like, oh, I wonder if it's an organization like the one. Wait a minute, the name of the organization I work for sounds rather suspicious. I wonder. Anyway, maybe I'll be in next week's evil episode, and I didn't even realize it.
Stranger things have happened this year
Yeah,
alone.
yeah, even today. So, speaking of strange things, and I don't mean the show, if you enjoyed this podcast, a strange thing indeed.
It's never coming back.
You know what? I honestly don't care. If I found out tomorrow Stranger Things wasn't coming back, I'd be like, okay. Because I don't, I mean, I know I guess I know there's stuff that they still need to get back to, that there's whatever, but the part of me is like, I'm good.
You're past the magic. You're past the magic hour.
If it comes back and it's good and it's got the great, sure. But I wouldn't be upset. And I like the show a lot. We did podcasts about it. I like whatever. but I'm just, and now they're all gonna,
Yeah, I mean, it's been like what, 4 years,
and
so
they're all gonna look like they're in their 30s, and balding at this, balding and
that's
graying,
so
and
true. You're
their
not wrong.
boobs will be sagging,
Yep.
for men and women, it's gonna, yeah.
It just, yeah,
It's
you're right.
it's gonna be from the it's gonna it's gonna be taking place from like 2004 or something. So there won't
The
be any,
mall is going to be filled with Spirit Halloween stores.
there'll be no good music. There'll be like a Coldplay song or something. Like, really? God. Anyway, wow. What was I saying? If you enjoy this podcast, you'll enjoy hanging out on our Facebook page. It's oh wow, the Stranger. It's the serious TV drama podcast page. Like the page and join the conversation about any show you want. Hey, even Stranger Things. But especially like The Boys and Evil and stuff like that. You can follow us on Instagram. We're just serious TV drama as one word there. You can follow us on X Twitter. Our handle there is at STVD Podcast. I feel like there's another thing I'm supposed to be telling people. I always forget. Obviously, if you ever want to, if anyone, I'm still going to keep putting it out there. If you ever want to go on Apple Podcasts, even if you don't use it, but if you have a Mac, you can access it. Just go there, throw us a rating and a review. I don't even care about the rating anymore. Our ratings are all. We got 51 ratings and 49 of them are 5 stars. I'm all okay with that. Just want just a one sentence decent review. Just move that other one out of there. Get the fuck off my page. Just
Got to get the star, Carmi.
and as we keep as Jamie said a few times, and Brian, they say, hey, feel free to comment like on various places, either be Twitter or the Facebook page. That's probably the most common place for it.
Yeah, honestly, if you have grown up with Catholic dogma in your life and anything about baptisms and whether antichrists can be absolved of their antichristisms, uh,
they're anti-Christianity.
by a baptism, middle of the night baptism, let us know. Let us share that knowledge.
If someone says something worth it there, maybe we'll even reference it on the podcast. I've done that a bunch of times on that other podcast that I have that I haven't done since April because I just haven't had the time, which is Scott Forgot the 80s. You can find that on most podcast platforms. Remember, Scott was 1T and 80s has no apostrophe. There's about 14 episodes. They all cover 80s movies. If you like 80s movies, go give it a listen. Each one's almost everyone is just around an hour long, so it's not like this fucking podcast. Jamie's been on a couple of them even.
I sure have. There might be a few movies there that you have seen and have an opinion about.
I still haven't gotten around to getting host the next two, so I was like, I'll get around to it. I know they're going to be Purple Rain and Flashdance. I just haven't gotten to it. Anyway, it's been fun talking to you, Jamie, as always.
Yeah, it's good. We've got finale next week happening. Like you said, we might have to push back recording a day or two, but I'm going to take a lot of notes. I have a feeling we're going to move into some even crazier craziness. If that's possible with the boys.
Well, yeah, it's a finale, so that should be expected. I'm assuming it'll probably run a little bit longer than a normal episode. I don't recall for sure, but I get the feeling they packed the finales, the finales a little bit more. And if I'm wrong, I don't know. But it's about resolving mostly storylines from this season and also giving us a hint about what's going to come for the next season. And the fact that they already have charted a progress where they know the next season is their final season. I feel there should be at least a certain number of seeds planted for that season. So
absolutely.
I will say there'll probably be something in those final few minutes that'll make us go, oh, that's going to be next season. At least I think they will. Maybe they won't. Maybe we'll see Jensen Ackles at the very end. Like, he told you. But now he's got a whole bunch of other characters with him. And also by the fact that there'll be a final season. And we'll wait till the final season if we're all still here. Those podcasts, because and what's going to happen in the final season? They're going to start killing people.
It's been known to happen.
Because it's those who know the comic or have done research and found out about the comic. A lot of these characters that we follow every week, a lot of them are dead. Just saying.
They're not there forever.
Got a kind of feeling some of these characters might not make it to the end of the series. No, sorry, Frenchie. Anyway,
Oh, the poor Frenchie.
And Kamiko. Yeah. Bye bye. Bye bye. Oh, good. Only major storylines next season. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me once again. Thank you guys for listening. And yeah, see you next week. Good night.
Bye.